Hello friends, welcome to Kathayein. Today I'll tell you something about the various activities of life, what is important and what is not important. And I've titled this little story as Life Lessons. So once there was a professor who walks into his class and suddenly he takes out a big jar and places it on the table, and then he takes out some table tennis balls and he starts filling up that glass jar, and soon the jar gets filled up by these tennis balls. And then he asks his students that now students, tell me, is the jar full? So the students look at the jar and they say yes, it's completely full. So then from his bag he takes out some small pebbles and he starts putting those pebbles in the jar. Now between the tennis balls, wherever there's space, these small pebbles, they start entering that space, and soon the pebbles occupy the remaining space. So then the professor again asks his students that, students, now tell me, is the jar full now? Students again say, yes sir, the jar is full. Then from his bag he pulls out some sand and then he starts pouring that sand into the jar. Now between the tennis ball, the jar and the pebbles, there is still space. So that space is occupied by the sand. So now he asks the student again, now tell me, is the jar full? The students again say, yes sir, the jar is full. Then from an adjacent table there are 2 cups of tea. He picks up those cups and he pours it into the jar, both the cups of tea and the jar. The sand in the jar soaks the entire tea. The students are a little perplexed now. They'll keep looking at what is this professor trying to do. So then the professor finally breaks the monotony and says that, friends, this jar is like a life, is like your life, and you saw me putting in tennis balls, then the pebbles, then the sand, then the tea. Now the tennis balls in this jar means the big things of your life, something like your career, your beliefs, your family, your love, your kids, your friends, your health. So these are big things of your life. So that is the tennis balls. Then you have pebbles, which are the smaller things of life, something like a house, something like a disagreement, something like anger. So all these things are the smaller things of life. Then you have the sand, which are very trivial things of life. I mean, even if you don't have them, it doesn't make a difference. So friends, you have to live your life like this. But if you try and reverse, that is, the tennis ball means the big things, the pebble means the relatively smaller things, sand means the trivial things. Now if you reverse the order, and if you put the sand in the jar first, there would have been no space left for pebbles and the tennis balls. So friends, the moral of the story is that if you try and do small things, that means if you try and fill sand in the jar, you will never be able to do big things. So you need to concentrate on the big things of your life. You need to concentrate on the tennis balls of your life, and thereafter you need to concentrate on the pebbles of your life, and time remaining you need to then come to the sand of your life. And so finally the students understood this, but one student was still very unconvinced. So he got up and he asked that, sir, you've told us about these three things, but what about those 2 cups of tea? So the professor laughed and he said that, well, I was thinking that somebody is going to ask that question. Now by those 2 cups of tea, I mean that no matter how busy you are in your life, and no matter how many tennis balls or pebbles or sand you have in life, but you should always have time to go out and have a cup of tea with your friends, and that is very refreshing, and there is no comparison to that. So friends, this is what the life lesson is all about, and if you've liked this life lesson, kindly share it, kindly subscribe our channel. Soon we'll come out with another good story for you. Till then, goodbye from Kathayein.